Guys, the transfer window is now open and the rumour mill is in full swing. We're back for another episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup. We've got loads to talk through today. As always, if you do go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Without any further ado though, let's hop into it. So after weeks of speculation, we finally have confirmation of Vincent Kompany being the new Burnley manager. This one was probably football's worst kept secret. We knew that eventually it would be announced, and finally we now have that confirmation. So you would think that this would put in line the chain of events where Burnley's transfer business properly gets kick-started in terms of the player departures, and more interestingly, the players that are going to be coming into Burnley. I'm sure there'll be plenty of links to Manchester City youngsters over the next few weeks, some of which we've already discussed in previous episodes. And hopping over to Blackburn Rovers, finally they've gone ahead and announced their new manager as Jon Dahl Tomasson, and I have to admit, I'm really quite excited to see him coming into the Championship. A couple of really successful years with Malmo, winning 2 league titles with them. Hopping over to England now. We've spoken a little bit about the managerial hunt that Blackburn have been on for the past couple of weeks, and we have said how sort of long-winded it has seemed, really. You know, from the point that we knew Tony Mowbray would be leaving Blackburn, it has taken them a while to come to this conclusion, but it does feel like they have quite an exciting, ambitious manager at the helm here. There's no doubt in my mind that Blackburn are going into a rebuilding process now. You know, they have to replace the quality that's been lost by the loan players returning to their parent clubs. Lenihan, you know, a really well-established figure in that dressing room leaving, and I'd say at this point probably a high likelihood that Brereton Diaz ends up leaving as well. But this is quite the switch up, I'd say, from Tony Mowbray, which, dare I say it, maybe I do think that Blackburn were probably in need of, as they are now heading in this new direction for this rebuild. So, Rovers fans, how are you feeling about the future? That's some of the managerial speculation out the way. Now let's hop into some transfer rumours. We'll start out with Joe Lumley to Reading. This one looks to be a done deal. I believe Lumley's on holiday at the moment, but when he comes back, it looks like this one will be a formality of Reading going ahead and getting this one over the line. Honestly, I'm a little bit conflicted about this one. Lumley's not coming off the back of a great year for Middlesbrough. I think at times he was singled out as one of the weaknesses in that Borough squad, and maybe even a causation of them not going on to make it into the top 6. He had that one really good year at QPR, and then since that point his stock has just continued to fall, really. No surprise that he will be leaving Middlesbrough as they look to target another goalkeeper. We'll talk about that in just a second. But as you can see on screen right here, this is goalkeepers from last season in the Championship ranked by save percentage. Reading are reportedly willing to let go of Luke Southwood and bring in Joe Lumley as his replacement, who actually sits one place lower than Southwood in terms of save percentage from last season. Now, I know that save percentage isn't the be-all and end-all in terms of how you'd go ahead and rank goalkeepers, but it is interesting as a basic sort of metric to look into how these keepers were performing last season, and neither of them particularly show up great. The most damning thing for Lumley though is the fact that Middlesbrough did a relatively decent job throughout the season of actually protecting him to a low volume of shots against him. If we look at how many shots per 90 Southwood was facing last season, 5.52 per 90. If you're putting a goalkeeper like Joe Lumley into that situation where a lot of shots are coming up against him with a save percentage of just 66.3%, it's a bit of a recipe for disaster perhaps. I could be proven wrong with this one, but I'm a little bit iffy on this deal if I'm honest. Quite an exciting one here, but Preston North End have been linked with a move for Javi Quinn here. Now this one would be subject to him getting a work permit, and as things stand it seems like that is a little bit of a sticking issue with Preston getting this deal over the line. Obviously, since we've left the EU, there's different rules and regulations for signing foreign players, and as of things right now it seems like Preston are waiting on any sort of confirmation in terms of a working visa. But judging off the players we've been linked to so far, I think I'm with a lot of North End fans where we're getting, you know, steadily more and more optimistic for this upcoming season. Hopefully over this next week or so we will start to land a few of these deals. Cyrus Christie for North End is also a target that is being spoken about at the moment. No surprise to see we're interested in strengthening both our options on the left and right hand side in terms of wing backs. This is a priority position for Ryan Lowe, and last season did feel a little bit like square pegs in round holes in terms of these positions. positions, and Cyrus Christie I'd be more than on board with. Thought he did a good job at Swansea last season. We've spoken a lot about the links that Middlesbrough have had to strikers during this transfer window so far, but a goalkeeper is also a priority position, and Tom Heaton is the latest link to come up with Middlesbrough. It will be quite an exciting one, this one actually. Tom Heaton, obviously a top Premier League goalkeeper from his time at Burnley. Since leaving Burnley, hasn't played all too much football. Originally made that move to Aston Villa, where he did play a little bit until obviously Martinez came in, and then after that got his move to Manchester United, where he's just been a background player really. Dropping down to the Championship though would bring a wealth of experience. It will be interesting to see what sort of goalkeeper Borough actually do land in the end, whether they do go for an experienced head like Tom Heaton or they target someone a little bit younger. And it's looking like Middlesbrough have landed the deal for Northampton goalkeeper Liam Roberts. His contract was up at the end of the season, and so will have snapped him up on a free transfer. The 27-year-old had a really good season with Northampton in League 2, won their Player of the Season award, and you'd imagine will be coming in as Borough's backup goalkeeper. And Ryan Fredericks has also been linked with a move to Middlesbrough at the moment. He is available on a free transfer after his contract at West Ham has come to an end. Borough do have a plethora of options down that right-hand side at the moment. I think we can take into consideration that Spence is probably going to leave, but they also have Jones, Fisher, who may come back into the frame, maybe not, and Dijksteel, although Dijksteel may be more seen as a right-sided centre-half these days. Fredericks did have a previous loan spell with Borough back in 2014 as well, and so could be a reunion. And the last bit on Middlesbrough for the time being, but they have reportedly had an inquiry knocked back for Coventry striker Victor Gyökeres. Obviously, it's no surprise to see several Championship clubs been linked to Coventry's star forward man after the season he's just had for them, and he has been one of many strikers to have been linked with Middlesbrough recently, but reportedly so, Coventry are keen to keep hold of him, as they would be. There are some serious talented free agents going about this summer, more so than I can remember in previous years gone by, and Jed Wallace absolutely falls into that category. West Brom have reportedly made an offer to Wallace and are said to be confident of getting a deal over the line. Nothing has been finalised as of yet. The previous story that we spoke about with Wallace seemed to be along the lines of West Brom would be a move that he would be available for should he not get a concrete offer from a Premier League club. At the moment, I wouldn't be surprised to actually see him ending up at the Hawthorns, and I think that would be an excellent bit of business from West Brom, who have been quite savvy so far in already going ahead and picking up John Swift. That's a hell of a lot of creativity that's added to that side if they get both Swift and Wallace. Alfie Mawson could be back on the radar for Birmingham. They were heavily linked with a move for the Fulham defender in the January transfer window, but a deal didn't come through in the end. His contract has since expired at Fulham, and he is now available on a free transfer. Now, when it comes to Birmingham, there has been some quite exciting developments in terms of a potential takeover, in terms of the recent news coming out of the club. We should have more on that over the next 24 hours or so, and after any more information comes out on that, we'll probably have a little bit more clarity on Birmingham's summer transfer business, which is exciting. It's looking like a move for Casey Palmer is getting closer for Coventry. Reportedly so, there's no transfer fee involved in this one, but from Bristol City's perspective, they will be saving a substantial amount on anything they owe Palmer in terms of his remaining contract, around about £1 million for the final year of that. Palmer's an interesting one because he feels like a player who, if he's properly unlocked and he feels the love in a club, there is absolutely a cracking player in there, and Bristol City fans have seen glimpses of that, albeit not on a greatly consistent basis. To be fair to Palmer, he's not played a lot of football throughout his career really, but especially over the last couple of years. Last season for Bristol City, he played just a grand total of 204 minutes of Championship football. When he was out on loan at Swansea the season prior to that, he played just 370 minutes of football. The most games he's ever started in a Championship campaign is actually 16, which paints a bit of a picture. He needs somewhere where he feels at home, he fits into the philosophy, and he can actually get a little bit of consistency under his belt. And maybe that club is Coventry. I think in terms of play style, the way they play under Mark Robins and the sort of character that Casey Palmer looks to be, dare I say, if I had to pick out a Championship club where Palmer could be a hit, I think Coventry would be up there in the clubs that I'd pick for him. It looks like Stoke are confident of landing a deal for Aidan Flint, who is out of contract after his contract at Cardiff had ran out. No surprise to see him departing Cardiff, really. I think they're going in a new direction in terms of letting go of some of the old guard, in terms of the players who have made up that spine in previous years. But he certainly gives an aerial threat to this Stoke squad for next season. Wins about 6 aerial duels per 90. Him and Harry Souttar in the same back line is a scary proposition. You're not getting any balls over the top of those two, are you? A really interesting one this, because Sunderland have been linked with the move for Leicester City's Daniel Iversen. Now, myself as a Preston fan, I've pretty much given up hope on Preston getting Iversen back on, either a loan deal or on a permanent basis. I don't think we've got the resources at the club to go ahead and do so, but this would seriously speak to the ambitions of Sunderland if they were to somehow be able to pull off a deal, whether that be a loan or a permanent move for Daniel Iversen. Now, this one really is at the discretion of Leicester City, because they've got a player who has performed exceptionally well in the Championship over the last year and a half with Preston. Kasper Schmeichel is obviously still their well-established number one, but what's the development plan with Iversen? Is it another loan move out somewhere, another one to the Championship or maybe abroad? Do they want to keep him around the squad as the number two? Because I do think he has the makings of a Premier League goalkeeper. Maybe not right now, because there are still a few flaws to his game, distribution probably still being one of them, but in terms of shot stopping, how many points he saved Preston last season, undoubtedly he was up there as one of the best goalkeepers in the league. His highlight reel in terms of the saves he pulled off on a weekly basis for Preston, I honestly think was pretty much unmatched by any other Championship goalkeeper. So we spoke last time about Sunderland's links to John Ruddy. This one comes in at completely the opposite end of the spectrum, because if Sunderland somehow wangled a deal for Iversen, that would really speak on their ambitions for next season, because it was Alex Neil who did originally sign him for Preston. Will Vaulks is the target for several Championship clubs, with Huddersfield, QPR and Stoke all being mentioned, as well as Sheffield Wednesday in League One upon his contract running out with Cardiff. Of all the players that Cardiff had their contracts running out at the end of the season, Vaulks was one of those that I was a little bit 50-50 on as to whether I thought Cardiff would or wouldn't offer him a new extension. It's been clear to see by the players that have already left Cardiff the sort of direction they're looking to go in, and the incomings that have already come in there. But I certainly think he could do a job for any of those clubs that he's been linked to there. Big news from Bristol City, because reportedly so they've rejected a £9 million bid for Antoine Semenyo. He's coming off the season of his life, 8 goals, 12 assists, and is pivotal to the way Bristol City play through transitions on counter-attacks. Semenyo is at many points the central pivot in that attack, really. Obviously Martin and Weimann have certainly chipped in, but in terms of play style through transitions, Semenyo is absolutely central to that. And rejecting a £9 million bid, with the situation we've spoken about Bristol City being in, I think is really quite ballsy, actually, and fair play to them. I'd imagine that if a bid creeps up to around about maybe that 15 million mark, maybe Bristol City then might be tempted to sell. It's not clear as of yet who the team was that put in that bid. I'd hazard a guess it would probably be one of the 3 newly promoted teams going up to the Premier League. We have seen previous interest from those 3 in the past. But Semenyo is 22 years old. He is, one of Bristol City's prized assets at the moment. And to be fair to Bristol City and the way they've generally done business with selling players in recent years, they have done pretty well, if memory serves me right, of getting good fees for all the players that have left them. So, they won't be pushed about on this one for Semenyo, and fair play. I say, it's at Bristol City's discretion what they choose to sell for, isn't it? But guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and do make sure to stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Thank you very much for checking out today's video, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.